Let me introduce our last speaker, Leonard Kim, who's a renowned author, a marketer, and a strategist, and today's speaker. He's going to be giving away free copies of his ebook, The Etiquette of Social Media. I definitely recommend. I haven't read the book, but I've read a few of his articles, and I can tell you he writes eloquently and excellently. So I definitely recommend picking that up from him. Without further ado, please.
Can you hear me okay like this?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to start out with a story. Back in 2010, when it seemed like it was the beginning to the end of my life as I moved. Because basically, I was at a point in my life where I was about to go homeless. I just lost all my income. I lost my car. And basically, every single day that went by, all I could do was just sit at home on the projector, staring at another movie on my projector as I counted down the hours and the minutes until I was going to basically go homeless. Basically what happened then was I always went out in my life because what I wanted to do is I wanted to go out for success. I started out my career in sales, trying to work my way up. I did extremely well. I hit a six-figure income at one point. And basically, what I did was, at the center of my focus, I only cared about three things: me, myself, and I. What happened when I went after everything for myself was that for each step I took forward, I ended up taking 2 steps back. So even though I was making great strides in my life, and I had the money, I had the success, and I had the love that I was looking for, I wasn't fulfilled inside of myself. So eventually, I took the wrong turn, and I ended up losing everything when things just went wrong. So, because I had dedicated my whole life to myself, all I could do was just count down the days until I was about to lose absolutely everything. Then that day magically appeared, and I was left with nothing. However, as you can see, I'm here speaking in front of all of you here today. So how did I get to this point? Well, basically, first I'll introduce myself. My name is Leonard Kim. Today I'm an author and marketer. Basically, in the last year and a half, 10 million views on my content. I've been publicized on the front page of prominent publications such as the BBC and Inc. magazine, along with others. And now, I was even recruited to a position as a chief marketing officer of a celebrity brand startup. But how did that happen, and how can you learn from all the mistakes that I made? First, before I get into that, I want to interlink how writing and programming is really similar and how it basically combines together. As far as programmers go, your job is to make programs that engage your users. My job as a writer is to create content that engages my readers. So basically, we're working in the same box. For me, what I have to do is I have to relentlessly edit my content to make sure that I connect with my audience. For you guys out there, you have to troubleshoot your program to make sure that your code works flawlessly, so the end user is able to have the experience that they're looking for. Basically, all of us in this room, we're all artists here today, and our goal is to design a platform that our users and our audience can appreciate. Now, before I get into anything, what I wanted to do is I wanted to build a roadmap or an outline that you guys could follow, more like a line path, what you could follow to get to where I am today and how you could do it for yourself. Because you're probably looking at me going, wow, this guy's had 10 million views on this content. There's no way that I could have 10 million views on my applications. And you know, I know exactly how you feel, because once upon a time I felt the same way. If you had asked me about a year and a half ago, Leonard, do you think you would ever have 1.5 million views or 10 million views on your content, or tens of thousands of followers online? I would have said no. That would be impossible. It wasn't even something I could fathom that could actually occur. So basically, let me lay out the roadmap on exactly how I got to where I am today. The first thing I did is I followed a philosophy called Kaizen, which stands for consistent and never-ending improvement. It's a Japanese philosophy that basically deals with consistent and never-ending improvement. So to give you an example of how that works, I'm going to take you back to a story from 3 weeks ago. For the last 3 months, I've been driving a Jaguar as my daily driver. Prior to that, I owned an Infiniti. 2 weeks ago, I haven't touched that Infiniti ever since I took ownership of the Jaguar, But 2 weeks ago, I got into the driver's seat of my Infiniti and decided to see how it ran. When I got into the car, I had no clue how to turn it on. I couldn't find out how to roll down the windows because they're in the center and not on the side. I couldn't even turn on the radio. When I had to release the key from the ignition, I had no clue how to do that as well. It was as if my mind forgot every single way to operate the vehicle. Basically, each day that we don't grow, we're dying. So what we need to do is we need to focus on consistent and never-ending improvement. As programmers out there, sometimes we get lost in the expectations of what we want to do. Sometimes we get discouraged. And when that happens, we want to just digress and move on from what we're doing. What I want to share with you is that it's not good to digress. You just have to keep at it and keep moving forward. Because if you don't, then you'll start losing those skills that you once had acquired. Next, what I built within myself was a desire to succeed. A desire in what I wanted to do. Like prior to that, prior to me writing, I used to have a career in sales. I hated sales with a passion, but like many of you in this room today, you see that this huge career that you can make out of programming. Most people who get picked up right out of college are earning 6 figures right away. But let me tell you something, if you're in it just for the money, like I was when I moved into my career with sales, you're going to hate every single minute of what it is that you do. To the point where you just tumble apart and decide to move on. That's why I chose marketing as what I wanted to get into, because sales, for me, had its limits, and it took me as far as I could take myself. And with that, I decided to move into writing and marketing as my career. With that, I also changed my whole philosophy of life. Before that, all I cared about was meeting myself and I was like, how am I going to get this? How am I going to get that? So I used to work in real estate. I was on track to making 500 grand a year. I was like, I want a Lamborghini. I want a mansion in the hills. I want this, I want that. But as long as I talked about what I wanted, the world did everything it could to take that away from me and make sure that I could never have it. Instead, what I did is I changed my whole philosophy to a concept of how I could give back to society. Instead of trying to earn what I could from society, I decided to change my philosophy on how I could give back, on what I could do to change and impact someone else's life. Basically, I flipped everything around to a point where I thought, if I could just change one person's life, make one person decide that they wanted to live for another day, or inspire one person to take action on what they want to do, then everything would work out for the better. And surprisingly, that worked out pretty well. Next, what I did is I starved my ego, but I fed my soul. I didn't have a background in marketing. I had no clue what I was doing from the beginning. So the first thing I had to do was, just like all of you, is I had to study. I had to look up the best authors I could find within the topic. What I did for myself is I picked 100 of the best authors I could find. Some of them included James Altucher, John Maxwell, Don Miguel Ruiz. I read their books, but not only did I read them, I copied them word for word. There's sites out there like GitHub and Stack Exchange that have samples of code. Some of it is flawless. Some of it has a lot of flaws in it. What I recommend that you guys do as programmers is copy as much code as you can. Because what it does is you consciously trick your mind into figuring out why this person put this line here, or why that person put that line there. For me, I always wondered, okay, why would this person put this period here or that comma there? And after a while, when I started writing, I was able to discover how to come up with my own style. By copying others, you'll also be able to figure out how